This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show.
Good morning, everybody. Well, I know I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. This is a very big week in British politics that's coming up. In fact, this is perhaps the most important week of the lot so far. Mrs May's deal going back to the House of Commons on Tuesday, and for all the negotiation that's been taking place in Brussels, Mr Cox, I'm afraid, has not secured any significant concessions at all. In fact, where Barnier got to on Friday was to go back to where we were a year ago, to say, well, OK, guys, maybe just Northern Ireland will be kept inside the customs union and the rest of you can leave. And that, of course, was what caused the row in the first place. So no one quite knows what's going to happen. I think perhaps my favourite headline today is in the Sunday Times, and it says it's out of control. By the end of the week, we could have no deal, no Brexit, or no Prime Minister. And there are many still saying that the only way this deal has a chance of going through is if Mrs May promises the ERG, promises the Brexiteers that she will resign. But if she promises them she's going to resign in a few months' time, why on earth would they believe her? Because she's been very, very good at making promises and then backtracking. I listened to Jacob Rees-Mogg on LBC on Friday evening. Seemed to me that he was pretty firm and pretty resolute. He's not going to vote for this deal. I found myself on Friday night up at the Oxford Union, where I was debating the deal, and proposing the deal was Rory Stewart, the government's prisons minister, and he and his team said, look, this is it, this is the best compromise we're going to get, and I was opposing the deal. And bizarrely, I found myself on the same side as Lord Andrew Adonis. I mean, this has never happened before. But of course, we were arguing from different perspectives. I was arguing I'm against the deal because I think we're leaving one bad treaty for one that's perhaps even worse and traps us. And he was arguing against the deal because he wants an extension, and he wants in that gap for there to be a second referendum. So I want to know from you, and goodness me, this has been debated for month after month after month. Do you think Mrs May's deal should be rejected once again by the House of Commons? And if you think, yep, the deal is a shocker, in fact, I think it's the worst deal in history. I think it reads more like a surrender document that only a country that had been beaten in war would sign. If that's how you feel, call 0345 6060 973. But maybe you can persuade me. Given that I've wanted Brexit for 25 years, maybe you can convince me this is the only way it's going to happen by texting to 84850 and tell me, if there is a delay, how long would it be for? Would we fight the European elections on the 23rd of May? And are the EU going to agree to that extension? Because that could be, if this deal gets rejected, and if on the subsequent votes on Wednesday and Thursday, Parliament was to say, we don't want no deal, we want an extension, that's all well and good, but it will be up to the European Union on the 21st of March, when all the leaders from 28 countries meet. They could, of course, simply reject it. So if we're going to extend, how long for, and what should we be looking for? And please tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC, at LBC, and of course you can comment too on Facebook. Leaving with no deal is an option only for the rich and retired. For the rest of us who live with uncertainty and potential insecurity, it's damaging and dangerous. Well, Holly and Bath, there are many who've painted out the WTO exit as being a catastrophe. They've told us planes wouldn't land, and talking of planes, horrendous air crash in Africa this morning, and we'll get some more on that during the course of the hour. They told us medicines might not arrive. I mean, all sorts of extraordinary scare stories. I can tell you, Holly, actually, behind the scenes, most of the things that need to be put in place have actually been put in place. Maybe not everything, but most things have. And it's very interesting on this no-deal point. And this, I think, will perhaps embolden the ERG and Jacob Rees-Mogg and others on Tuesday. Opinion poll out today in the Sunday Times, 44% favouring no deal, as opposed to 30% who don't, 25% undecided. But of all the options now, no deal is the most popular out there in the country by far. And I think that's a reflection of people's total and utter frustration with Westminster not getting on and delivering Brexit. Malcolm is a first-time caller from Sunderland. Hello, Malcolm.
Good evening, Nigel. Or good afternoon, good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Now, I'm coming to Sunderland, Malcolm. I should be in Sunderland next Saturday.
I shall be there.
Very good, because we're going to march from Sunderland to London.
I shall be there.
I'm not doing all of it, by the way, whatever the tabloids tell you.
Well, I can't either, Nigel. But, I'll be in London as well, so that's the main thing.
So it was your community, Malcolm. It was your community. I'll never forget that night of the 23rd, 4th of June, the returning officer for Sunderland, and it was something like 58,000 remain, and then it was 83,000 leave, and we all thought, wow. What do you think should happen?
I would love to tell you a story about that night, Nigel. I would really like to sit down and tell you my story.
Right. Well,
because I was going to go to bed.
Yeah.
After I'd voted to leave.
Yep.
But I stayed there till Mr. Dimbleby, nearly sticking in his throat, said, "We're leaving."
I know he didn't.
I'll tell you what, I was delighted.
The BBC didn't look very happy, did they? Now, Malcolm, moving up to speed and where we are today, what do you think? Do you think this deal should be rejected, or is it the best we're going to get?
No, we're not good. That's not a deal, Nigel. Two sides need to negotiate. There's been no negotiation. There's been all take. In fact, I would go on to say that Theresa May is the Lord Halifax of the present day.
Oh, no, that's Dominic Grieve. That's Dominic Grieve, in my opinion.
Well, she's up there with him. She's up there with him.
But she says, Malcolm, I mean, she wasn't too far away from you on Friday. She was in Grimsby.
Yeah.
I love the sound effects of the seagulls in the background, Malcolm. Terrific. But she was in Grimsby on Friday, and she was saying that if we don't accept her deal, there could be no Brexit at all.
Oh, no. To be honest, Nigel, I think I saw the late papers last night, and to be honest, I'm quite happy with. I think she'll resign. I think she'll resign next week.
Do you?
I don't think she's got much option. I really don't.
But she can't walk out when we're due to leave.
I think she's that type of person.
Do you really?
I
don't know.
She's incompetent.
She's
incompetent.
Well, that may well be true, and she's been driven by the civil service, and I'm certain of that. I don't see her quitting, Malcolm. She couldn't walk out with sort of 15 days to go before Brexit date, could she?
Well, I don't know.
All right, Malcolm, we'll see. I'll see you in Sunderland next week. Thank you very much indeed. Guts and determination are the call of the day. We leave this month through hell or high water. Well, I don't know, Caroline, whether that's actually going to happen or not. But you do go on to say that the Tory party may be orchestrating their own demise. And I've talked about polling a bit already, and there was a very interesting poll, and all right, you may say, Nigel, you're self-interested, but a very interesting poll saying that the new Brexit party, which does have my support, that the new Brexit party, 37% of Conservative voters said they would consider voting for the new Brexit party if we don't leave the European Union on March the 29th. So there are some huge risks, not just for the Brexit process, but for the Conservative Party. And I'd wondered all the way through this whether an appeal to party unity might be what gets this deal through. But I'm now beginning to think the deal is so bad, it's got no chance. John from Thornbury is a regular caller. Good morning, John.
Yes, good morning, Nigel.
So, what's to be done, John?
Well, I want a referendum.
Do you want a second referendum?
In a sense, yes, but Remain should not be on the paper.
Right. I'd rather agree with that.
We've had a lot of football analogies. I look at this like the FA Cup. We've had the semi-final.
Mm-hmm.
It's been decided that we are leaving. The only issue is how. Now, Westminster will not implement what the people want. They're trying delaying tactics, sabotage, obfuscation, all the dirty tricks. They do not want this to happen. I think it's very telling what May has said, that Brexit might not happen at all.
Well, that's a threat, isn't it? Yeah.
Precisely what she wants. Carrying on with war analogies, I think May's deal could be likened to the Versailles Treaty. And if I could offer a new term...
A bad piece.
People talk about a Brino, Brexit in name only. I would just change it around slightly and call it an O'Brien Brexit, as in James O'Brien.
Well, I'm not going to get into that, John. But so, John, you think, logically, we extend And into that, we have a referendum on Mrs May's deal versus no deal.
Exactly.
OK, all right, John, that's John's point of view. He thinks that Remain should not be on the ballot paper if there is a second referendum. I agree with that, although I do wonder what question we'd get. Matthew is calling from Balham. Matthew, good morning. Should Mrs May's deal be accepted this week?
No, and I'm sure it won't be. And I'm sure that we will vote for, or they rather, the MPs will vote for a delay.
I agree.
And I think that step by step, it's all looking more likely that there will be no Brexit. But I just want to come back to this thing of no
Why
deal.
do you say it looks more likely there'll be no Brexit?
Well, because the longer it goes on, the more there will be questions about at what point does that previous referendum expire. And, there is no sort of absolute law which says, a referendum, and there was nothing in the original referendum which said that, it's valid for X amount of time. So the longer it drags on, the more there'll be a debate about, things have changed so much.
What
is it
does
really
that do
valid?
for...
Anyway, that's not
Matthew, just quickly. Just quickly, Matthew.
That's not the reason.
Matthew, what would that do to our democracy, Matthew?
Hang on.
What would that...
That's not the main point.
No, but I want to finish that point. What would that do?
I've made the point.
What would that do?
The main reason that I phoned
What would that do to our democracy, Matthew? All right, Matthew, I'm going to let you go. I'm going down to Thanet to speak to Eddie, who's a new caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
So...
You're right, Nigel.
Fine. So tell me, Eddie, should this deal be accepted or rejected?
It should be thrown out the window, to be honest.
Right.
The thing is, I'm not even sure why the country's gone down this route anyway, because if I recall, prior to the referendum, David Cameron spelled out exactly what leave meant. He said it would be leaving the customs union and the single market. So I don't understand how these staunch Remainers have been able to manipulate the system and pollute it by saying, oh, well, they didn't know what way they, or why they wanted to leave, or they didn't have, and it beggars belief.
So, Eddie, would you favour us leaving on WTO terms?
Absolutely.
Which is now the majority or the biggest position in the country. But, Eddie, it could be an extension. Would you feel at that moment that Parliament and politics had failed?
Well, to be honest, if they did vote for an extension, then that motivates yourself with your new party.
Well, it does, but that's not what I necessarily want. Eddie, thank you. I don't want to do this forever. I'm quite happy for us just to leave. For now, you're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. It's 10:15.
LBC.
Thanks to people giving monthly donations, Cancer Research UK are funding thousands of life-saving research projects, so people like Alim can get back to enjoying family bike rides, birthdays, and games of football. As a dad, I understand just how precious those moments are. So, on behalf of all the families that have been helped, thank you.
Thank you.
See the impact of monthly donations by searching Cancer Research UK because of you. Together, we will beat cancer.
I want Poppy to play cricket for England.
I want Sam to stop screaming.
I want Joe to live a little.
I want Naomi to live a lot.
I want Becky to invent a cure for the common cold.
Whatever the future holds for your children, Vitality Life Insurance want to make it happy, healthy and secure. So when you take out our Wellness Optimizer, you'll get up to 40% off your life insurance premiums.
I want the twins to keep on being happy.
I just want whatever the twins are on.
Just search Vitality Life Insurance. Additional product, minimum monthly premiums and conditions apply.
Hello, hi. I bought this gym membership as I wanted to get fit, but I just read that dad bods are in right now, so I think I might just stick with what I've got. So, could I get my money, please?
Money for a gym membership you don't use? Not so smarty. Money off your next phone bill for mobile data you don't use? Smarty. Plans starting from £6.25 per month for 1 gig of data and unlimited calls and texts. Call exclusions apply. Join today at smarty.co.uk. Simple, honest, mobile.
What will happen when the UK leaves the EU? Do I need to renew my passport earlier than planned?
I'm an EU citizen living in the UK. How will this affect me?
Will mobile roaming change?
How will exporting my goods be affected?
You might also have questions about how leaving the EU on the 29th of March will affect you. Find guidance and up-to-date information at gov.uk/EU exit.
Constipation relief has me singing with glee.
strutting my stuff for the whole world to see.
Senecot Max, help me feel free.
Natural Senna,
Double strength
helped us back to normality.
It's how a
wonderfully
regular life could be.
Senecot Max Strength is twice the strength of Senecot tablets. For short-term occasional use, always read the label.
The best place for sleepyheads is in their bridge bed in bed.
We love our sleep, and even though we use them less, we do still love real shops where we can get real customer service. Get the best of both. Buy your next new bed at Bridge Bedding, an incredible choice of beds and mattresses from the best-known brands in the UK, ensuring a great night's sleep. Bridge Bedding, Leigh-on-Sea, Hornchurch, or online at bridgebedding.com.
The best place for sleepyheads is in their bridge bed in bed.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
It fascinates me that some Remainers just seem to think that Brexit will just go away, or that Brexit actually should go away. I mean, you know, we had this great historic vote. We backed it up in a general election. 498 MPs voted for Article 50. It can't just disappear. I mean, Ian's another one here. He says the backstop is great because it keeps us in the single market. If May loses the vote, she will revoke Article 50 and her and Brexit will fade away. Ian, I don't know what planet, mate, you're living on, but I promise you, there are huge numbers of people in this country, and not just those that voted Brexit, plenty of them that voted Remain as well, who think if this is not delivered, it will damage our democracy forever. It'll reshape British politics. It could lead to goodness knows what kind of new political movements, and it would just be plain wrong. We're supposed to be a democratic country. I'm really mystified by that mindset. I just don't get it. Robbie is a first-time caller from Colchester. Good morning, Robbie.
Hello, Nigel. Hi, thanks for taking my call.
So, has Mrs May convinced you that her deal is the only way? I mean, she's our Prime Minister, Robbie. Do you not listen to the Prime Minister?
I think she's been dishonest since the very start.
Do you really?
She's ever intended to take us out of the EU. What I suggest is, I mean, she's going to this farce is going to play itself out, and I think the only chance we've got to save democracy is the next general election, where I think every constituency that voted Leave needs to vote for a Leave MP, whatever party, whatever their party, vote on the issue, yeah? Because this will punish them, it will send a message to them that we will not be taken for granted, and we'll get the Brexit that we deserve.
In theory, Robbie, that's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely great. Sounds fantastic. Logical. All makes sense. The trouble is that increasingly when we vote in general elections, we almost don't know the names of the local candidates because we're voting for who we think should or should not be the Prime Minister. It's kind of become, our general elections have kind of become almost a bit presidential.
Well, the thing is, though, with social media as it is today, I mean, this is now beginning to shape politics as it never did before, as it didn't exist.
Yes.
We could easily take an organisation and promote, quite simply put up a website, post social media and say, this is a Brexiteer MP. A relevant party, whether it's with your new party. I mean, with all due respect, you're not going to be ready to sit in every constituency. So where you can sit, great, because we know you're going to get us out. I'm in Colchester. Bernard Jenkins is definitely going to take us out, so I'm happy to vote for him.
Yeah, I get
in
that.
other constituencies, I mean, if it wasn't, I'd vote Green. I'd vote raving loony if he'll take us out on this one issue. Yeah, not just to get the vote, not just to save democracy, but also to show MPs that we won't be trifled with, that they can't be dishonest, and that they have to adhere to the democracy which represents this country.
Well, Robbie, we shouldn't even be having this conversation, should we? Really?
Absolutely.
What do you think, Robbie? As someone who cares about this, what's your prediction for this week?
Oh, her deal will get kicked out, and then she'll delay, and it'll carry on until they think they've broken the will of the Brexit voters.
Are they going to break your will, Robbie?
Never.
Right, okay, I get that. I believe you. Thank you. I'm off to Doncaster to speak to Fred, a first-time caller. Hi, Fred.
Hello there.
Good morning. Good morning. So, the Prime Minister has made her case in Grimsby, made it very clearly, it's her deal or there could be no Brexit. Do you believe her, Fred?
No, I don't believe her one moment.
Go on.
I think May changed the electorate's leave vote for close ties with the EU, with the negotiation. That's what's caused this dilemma.
Right. So, do you think Parliament will reject her deal then?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you think it's going to be no deal, or do you think it's going to be delay?
Well, I hope it's not going to be a delay, but I think it may be. I want out. We voted. The majority voted leave. We didn't want any ties. We didn't want any commitments. We just wanted to leave.
But, I mean, Lord Adonis would say, Fred, if he was here, you didn't actually know what you were voting for. What deal were you voting for, Fred? No one explained the deal to you.
Oh, goodness. How many times does that man have to say such ridiculous things?
Well, he obviously believes it, Fred. I mean, he thinks that Leave voters didn't really know what they were voting for.
There are a lot of MPs who are not in touch with the grassroots. They are going they have their own agenda and going their own way. So
politics is disconnected from the people?
Oh, most definitely, yeah.
Fred, I couldn't agree more. Thank you for your call. Billy says, reject. The only way out is no deal. Simon says, all old people, please stop trying to make an impact on our future. Oh, he sounds nice. You've all failed in the past. We don't need your help. Please stop voting on things you won't even see. So, Simon, should we sort of cull the over 60s? Would that be a sort of suggestion for the way forward? Or remove the vote for anybody over the age of 17? What are you suggesting? It's disturbing. This is disturbing. This whole Brexit debate is bringing out in some Remainers, and I emphasise some Remainers because I think the majority of Remainers actually are Democrats, and many of them have changed their minds. But there is an extreme fringe in this country who seem to think that their love and desire of us being part of a militarised United States of Europe means we must completely get rid of our entire democratic process. I said 10 minutes ago, I found this argument disturbing. Simon, I find your message deeply, deeply disturbing. Anastasia says, we had a referendum, we had an election that the Tories won by Leave votes on leaving the customs union. We have been betrayed twice. Well, it's the first time this morning, Anastasia, that betray word has come up. But I do wonder by this time next week whether a lot more people might be using it. John is a new caller from Maidstone in Kent. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Nigel. Hope you're well.
I am. Welcome to the show, John. Tell me, is Mrs May's deal the best way forward?
Absolutely not. I mean, absolutely 1,000% not. Mrs May's deal is going to make this country even more of a laughing stock than we are already. I've just returned from both Europe and Switzerland, and we are literally a laughing stock.
Oh, yes.
Mrs May's deal will put this country into literally a voiceless entity, and we will pay the European Union $39 billion in order to help them fuel their own ridiculous, ever-increasingly bureaucratic project.
Is there any chance, John, given that we have the legislation in place, given that we have the EU Withdrawal Act in place, is there any chance, do you think, that Mrs May gets her deal voted down on Tuesday and says, right, I'm not reopening the legislation, we are leaving on March the 29th, as she's told the House of Commons over 100 times, and she'll take us out on WTO terms? Is there any chance, John, she might do that?
Well, I would beg her to. I would truly beg her to. The woman must be blind, if not stupid. I voted Remain, not because I think it's a good idea to remain. I spent 5 minutes at that booth, longest time I've ever spent.
Did you really?
At a voting booth. Yeah, literally thinking, which way am I going to go? I want to come out, but my view at the time was we're probably better off in and fighting them as you have from within.
Oh, yes.
But having seen the way the EU have behaved and their total inability to move at all from any of their precious points, we have literally been railroaded down a line with a very, very weak Prime Minister.
Has this process, ever. John... I agree with all of that. John, let me just ask you, has this process really, to sort of ordinary folk in this country, has it opened their eyes to how the European Union works and who runs it, do you think?
I hope so. I hope so. But by the same token, Nigel, democracy died in this country the very moment we had after the referendum, when they all started bickering between themselves.
Yeah.
There was only ever one way to leave the EU, and that was just to leave. No payment.
Well,
thank you very much. Bye-bye. We're off.
John, I agree with you. I agree with you.
This country's always been a muddle-through country. We would have muddled through.
44% of people in today's Sunday Telegraph poll take the same view.
Well, I will never vote Tory again. Never. And if I'm given the chance, I will vote definite no-deal Brexit.
Okay.
Absolutely, 1,000%.
John, fascinating phone call, and John there who'd agonised for 5 minutes and voted Remain, but he's seen the behaviour of the Barniers, the Junkers, the Tusks, let alone Mr Verhofstadt. Now, Pat from Cheshire takes, I think, an extreme line. The Remain traitors are working to surrender us to a foreign power. They should be put into the Tower of London. Well, not all of them, Pat. There isn't room. I don't know. I wouldn't put them in the Tower of London, Pat. I just want them to understand the damage they're doing to this country, its history, its traditions. We are supposed to be a proper democracy. Andrea says to me on Facebook, I didn't vote for a deal. I voted leave. Matt says, no deal is the right deal, and the right deal is WTO. Gail says, older people, we're back on this one now, older people have kids and grandkids. They vote for what they think is best for them. God help us if the likes of Simon got in, he would have everyone slaughtered over the age of 40. I used the word culled. I was trying to be polite. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. Now with the news headlines, it's Lisa Aziz.
Reports from Ethiopia say there are no survivors after a plane crashed with 157 people on board. The Ethiopian Airlines jet was heading to Nairobi in Kenya, but came down just 6 minutes after taking off from Addis Ababa this morning. The Health Secretary has denied the government is heading for an inevitable second defeat on Theresa May's Brexit deal. Matt Hancock has urged Tory MPs to get behind the withdrawal agreement, warning there could be total uncertainty if it's rejected again. 2 more British women who went to Syria to become jihadi brides have reportedly been stripped of their UK citizenship. Sisters Rima and Zara Iqbal, who are understood to have 5 children between them, left their home in East London in 2013. LBC weather, very windy with wintry showers or rain, particularly across western Scotland and Northern Ireland, turning drier in the south, a high of 11 degrees.
This is LBC.
Thanks to people giving monthly donations, Cancer Research UK are funding thousands of life-saving research projects, so people like Alim can get back to enjoying family bike rides, birthdays and games of football. As a dad, I understand just how precious those moments are. So, on behalf of all the families that have been helped, thank you. See the impact of monthly donations by searching Cancer Research UK because of you. Together, we will beat cancer.
When you're done for the day, you can't just lock up your data in a safe. Which is why BT is now offering 50% off when you combine Broadband Essential with added backup and device protection. Because it's just as important to be protected as it is to be connected. Find out more at bt.com/businessprotect. BT. Be there. BT terms apply. Up to 50% saving is the maximum discount available on the BT Business Broadband Essential package. Delivery charges are applicable. See bt.com/businessprotect for full T's and C's.
Looking for an easy way to find the best boiler, get it delivered and installed? Visit swaleheating.com. Rely on us to keep you warm.
It's freezing in here.
Oh no, the heating's not working.
One nasty surprise is enough. We're with you. So with British Gas Home Care Boiler Cover, all parts and labour are included when we repair your boiler. From £12 a month, that's just 40p a day. And now, when you buy selected home care products online by the 1st of April, get up to £50 to treat yourself. Search British Gas Home Care. Conditions apply.
Tatty tiles? Carpet past it? Lay it with B&Q. Giant light oak effect laminate flooring is just £7 per square metre. It features integrated underlay and is available for 1 hour click and collect. So for brilliant flooring products at everyday low prices, you can do it when you B&Q it. Pack price £12.22. 1 hour click and collect. Restrictions apply.
Your company's doing pretty well. Your tax position's okay. So what's keeping you awake at night?
To face the future with confidence, talk to Vision Consulting. We've expanded from Gants Hill to the Gherkin, with clients from the fishmonger to the multi-million-pound property investment company. And our growth as a firm of chartered accountants and registered auditors is based on our passion for our clients' business.
Have confidence in your accountant. See visionconsulting.co.uk.
It took two brothers.
And me, a designer.
A software engineer.
A manufacturing leader.
A digital content creator.
A product packer.
And me, Ben, the relationship manager from Lloyds Bank, to bring the tech industry and sustainable fashion together.
Because by working together with the business, he helped provide the finance needed for T-Mill to make sustainable clothing more accessible. Lloyds Bank, by the side of business.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC.
Well, we're discussing whether Mrs May's deal is going to get through Parliament, and she really pushed hard in Grimsby on Friday. Vote for my deal or there could be no Brexit, but so far not one of you seems to think her deal will go through. Some of you think that's dreadful, some of you think that's terrific. And joining me to talk about this is the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Vince Cable. Good morning, Vince.
Good morning, Nigel.
So, is her deal going to get through Parliament in your opinion?
Well, it doesn't look like it. If you'd asked me a week ago, I'd just said it probably would, but it's become fairly clear that most of the opponents of the deal on the Tory benches, the ERG and also the Democratic Unionists, are not willing to get behind it, and if that's the case, it will go down, because certainly I and my party and others who are critical of it from a different standpoint will vote against it.
Yeah, now given that, of course, if it does fail, and I'm sure you're right that it will, in legislation, of course, we've got the EU Withdrawal Act, and if the Prime Minister just did nothing, we would be leaving, wouldn't we, on March the 29th on WTO terms?
Well, we can go into the issue about what WTO terms actually means, but no, I think the next step, it's a very complicated process, and you really do have to be an anorak to get behind all the detail, but essentially what happens is the following day, there is due to be a vote on whether to scrub the no-deal option. That begs quite a lot of questions about how you do it. And then the following day, there would be a discussion on postponing Brexit for several months, but the objective of the postponement is not yet at all clear.
I mean, I understand that's the timetabling, and that's what's due to happen this week. But the point I'm making, legally, if the Prime Minister did nothing, we would just leave, wouldn't we?
Well, yes, that is the default option. Yes,
right.
That is correct.
So that is still a possibility.
They've been thrashing around for weeks, working out how to resolve that conundrum.
So into this situation, do the Liberal Democrats want to see an extension?
We would like an extension to have a people's vote, but it would require more than a few months just technical change. It would probably involve a long postponement now, given that the government has dragged its heels for so long. But certainly the route we prefer, which is that we go back to the public and have their say on the subject, that would require some time, certainly.
So that would mean then contesting the European elections on May the 23rd. Is that something that you and the Liberal Democrats welcome?
Well, we recognise it would be necessary. Welcome is a different word. I think in practice there are various options. We could have a contested election, or they could roll over the existing members of the European Parliament, including, I guess, yourself.
That would be, but we can't do. We can't.
This is resolved.
But we can't do that, can we? We can't just say those that were elected 5 years ago stay on.
Well, probably for another year or something. No, I mean, we're a bit ahead of the game here. I mean, I think from the European point of view, they're very agitated about the European elections. I think, to be frank, we're dealing with more basic questions in the UK. That's one of the details that we have to sort out later.
Well, you say that, but it could be within a week or two that we are talking about this issue. And I'm also fascinated. I mean, your position, you know, you want an exit from Brexit, a second referendum, but I'm just sort of very struck that the SNP have got that position, and Plaid have got that position, and the Greens have got that position, and now Labour have sort of kind of got that position, and then of course there is the independent group. Isn't this grouping of political parties that want another vote, isn't it a bit crowded?
Well, if it's crowded, that, from my point of view, must be a good thing. It tends to be more people are behind it. I mean, one of the problems, of course, is not everybody in the Labour Party is in this position. Jeremy Corbyn's own position is highly equivocal. He's agreed to it, but not in a terribly fulsome way. And what I think will have to happen is that the government itself would come forward and say, look, we can't resolve this issue, we're going to have to go to the public. That's not the way in which the question is currently being posed. But I think that's where we may finish up.
And is it very interesting to me, looking at Chuka Umunna and that gang and looking at what they say and what they stand for, I find it quite difficult to really put much political space between what they're saying and in many ways, Sir Vince Cable, what you and the Liberal Democrats are saying. Isn't the reality that if you were both to stand against each other in a general election, you'd virtually cancel each other out?
Yes, that is correct. I mean, you know as well as I do, you've fought for many years with UKIP and the problems of the first past the post system. I think you had 15% of the vote last time in no MPs.
Don't remind me.
We're in the same boat, and I think you're quite right that if there was direct head-to-head competition, it would be self-harming, and that's why I think in practice we will find some way of cooperating.
Yeah, okay. And finally, Vince Cable, can I ask you, do you think Brexit is going to happen?
I would say that if you're a gambling man, the odds are that it probably would, but the odds on it not happening are narrowing. I would, give it quite respectable probability. And that's why I and my team are continuing to fight it. We do think that at the end of the day, with a people's vote, if that happened, we would finish up staying. I mean, I know that's not your line at all, but I think it's still very much in prospect.
No, OK. Thank you very much indeed, Vince Cable. Well, I disagree totally with that, of course, but the point is, and this is important, given the vehemence of some of the messages I've been getting this morning, to be fair on both sides of the argument, actually, we ought, even though this is really important, vitally important, we ought to be able to conduct our political conversations in a civilised and in a manner that is respectful of democracy. Philip says, Vince thinks our vote didn't count. Well, again, it's the same thing, Philip, that we get from Adonis and the others. They just think it's all a terrible mistake and that in time we're all going to change our minds. Rick says a second referendum with Remain on the ballot is a mockery of our democracy and our parliamentary system. Rick, I can't for one moment disagree with that. And we have some breaking news. The Kenyan Transport Secretary is speaking in Nairobi. There's been a plane crash just outside Nairobi, approximately 150 people on board. It sounds like everybody has perished. If we get any more news on that, we will bring it straight to you. So, should Mrs May's deal go through? Is it the best thing we have on offer? Is she right when she says, vote for this, or, gosh, there could be no Brexit? Mark is a first-time caller from Southampton, and good morning to you.
Good morning.
Welcome. So,
thank you.
Does her deal go through?
No, I don't think it will go through. But I really wanted to talk about a second referendum, which I think if the Leave campaign slightly altered their approach, we would win Leave by an even greater margin. The campaign so far has concentrated on defending accusations about what's going to go wrong and what's wrong with trade and what's wrong with the customs union and what problems may bring. When actually the real concern of many, many people is the sovereignty of this country and the power to make our own decisions going forward. This week there were 2 directives issued by EU, and the key to that is the word directive, which actually means they can enforce anything they like. And with the Lisbon Treaty coming up in 2020, they can enforce all sorts of things that will reduce this country to little more than a state. When people realise the extent of the power we're giving away, disloyally, traitors giving away our country, I think the vote for Leave would be much, much greater than it was last time.
So you're suggesting then, Mark, that if there was a second referendum, the Leave side focuses purely on this question of sovereignty, yeah?
Well, I think they should spell out much more clearly what the implications of the Lisbon Treaty, which, by the way, I don't remember being debated very heavily in Parliament. I'm not even sure the MPs have really read it through and know what's coming. And what we signed up to.
The funny thing is, Mark...
And this word directive scares me to death. It sounds like Moscow or Beijing.
Well,
Directive
that's because...
58, Directive 59.
Yeah, well, that's because their law is superior to our law, and it's enforced by a European Court of Justice. And I have been trying to make this point for some years. Mark, it's really funny. Whenever you confront somebody who's pro-EU, like Nick Clegg, and you say, well, what about the army? They just deny it. It's quite extraordinary how for half a century, they've denied the very thing that they apparently support. Mark, in your view, with the week coming up, do you think we're headed towards an extension and possibly a second referendum then?
Well, I think we're heading for an extension. The best thing that would happen for me is that if Italy, Hungary, or one of the others say no, and then we come out with no deal, and it's all over, and we can get on with life and get on with running this country the way we should.
Yeah, Mark, thank you for your passion. Thank you for your call. Nigel, how can Vince Cable and his party call themselves Liberal Democrats when they can't grasp the concept of democracy? No, they're not very liberal either. They seem to support banning virtually everything. Well, this is an interesting point that was just raised there by Mark, and it's this. If the House of Commons rejects this deal on Tuesday evening, yes, we're due to have votes on whether to keep the no-deal option, whether to extend. They're due to come in the next couple of days. Doesn't mean they will. That may well get kicked down the road for another week or whatever. But what will happen is at 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning, Michel Barnier, on behalf of the European Union, will respond to that vote. He'll do it in the European Parliament chamber in Strasbourg. I'll be there sitting next to him. And what's going to be interesting, I think, is the assumption will be her deal falls and it's going to be a delay. And the question is, what will the European Union want in return for that delay? Will they automatically, on the night of the 21st of March, when all the European leaders sit down in Brussels, will they automatically give us a delay, or will they want a price for it? Will that price be a load more money? Will that price be that we have to promise a second referendum? So, big events taking place this week in Westminster, but the response from the European Union to all of this is going to be fascinating too. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC, and it's 10:45.
Eddie Mair, weekdays from 4 p.m. on LBC.
Would you bet that Brexit will definitely happen on March the 29th?
Predictions in this area would be folly.
Is that not a bit frightening, given the people voted for it?
They voted for it, and I think we will get Brexit on 29th of March.
Well, you're not sure, though.
Eddie Mair, weekdays from 4 p.m. LBC.
The real reason Sleeping Beauty fell asleep was because it was taking so long for the palace to sell. And the handsome prince needed the proceeds to buy their new home with no time to dwell.
I know who can help. Property Rescue. I'll contact them straight away.
So he spoke to their friendly team who took care of every detail. They bought the palace direct with no legal fees to pay. Fast forward to living happily ever after. Visit propertyrescue.co.uk. Property Rescue. Fast forward to sold.
When you're done for the day, you can't just lock up your data in a safe. Which is why BT is now offering 50% off when you combine Broadband Essential with added backup and device protection. Because it's just as important to be protected as it is to be connected. Find out more at bt.com/businessprotect. BT. Be there. BT terms apply. Up to 50% saving is the maximum discount available on the BT Business Broadband Essential package. Delivery charges are applicable. See bt.com/businessprotect for full T's and C's.
I'm Peter Jones. I've worked with many businesses. They're all different. So why be shoehorned into accounting software that treats all businesses the same? Sage Business Cloud is different. It fits your business's ever-changing needs. Like preparing for Making Tax Digital. With Sage, you're good to go. Business is about making wise choices. It's about being Sage.
Be ready for Making Tax Digital. Sign up for a free MTD consultation at sage.com/MTD.
It's time. Time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. With stunning HD video, crisp audio, and instant wireless sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
I'm Nick Beresford. We are Enitor. We manufacture performance insoles that help people stay injury-free. We showed Usain Bolt and the technology. He loved it and wanted to help us and has really sort of kicked us into the global marketplace. At first, we probably tried to chase too many of those opportunities. That's where the Department for International Trade has been really helpful on strategy first. Where is it you want to go? Where does this product fit? And then let's have a roadmap over the next few years in order to go and do that. If we can, you can. Search exporting is great.
Life is full of so many things. Happy things, sad things, and surprising things. You've got commuting things, typing things, planning things. With all these things, it's easy to forget you need to eat something. So open the Uber Eats app to order a sushi thing, a burger thing, or perhaps that new thing. Sit for a minute and enjoy that thing, and then get back to all your other things. Uber Eats. Get food delivered wherever life takes you. Download the app today. Available at selected times in selected locations.
Hello, hi. I bought this gym membership as I wanted to get fit, but I just read that dad bods are in right now, so I think I might just stick with what I've got. So, could I get my money, please?
Money for a gym membership you don't use? Not so smarty. Money off your next phone bill for mobile data you don't use? Smarty. Plans starting from £6.25 per month for 1 gig of data and unlimited calls and texts. Call exclusions apply. Join today at smarty.co.uk. Simple, honest, mobile.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC, The Nigel Farage Show.
Well, lots of reaction to Vince Cable coming on the show this morning. You know, the Lib Dems and the Ramonas disagree with a Democratic vote that didn't deliver a result they agreed with. Andrew, I know, and they want to reverse it. They don't really seem to think that we understood what we were doing. Is Mrs May's deal going through? And if it doesn't, what happens? Well, I have been saying here, folks, since last August that I thought delay was the most likely outcome, but there is still a possibility that we leave with no deal on WTO terms. Frank on Facebook says, if May took us out, if her deal falls, she'd go down in history as a heroine. Of course she won't, but she might reflect. Well, Frank, she might reflect because this is the only way. If this deal goes down on Tuesday, the only way politically she will have any legacy at all is if she just takes us out on the 29th of March. I still don't believe it'll happen. James is calling from Barnes. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Nigel.
Good morning.
I'm a Remainer.
Yep.
But I agree with you about democracy, and I would take Theresa May's deal. I would bite her hand off it. And what I don't understand is the MPs that want to remain. What do they think by not voting for her deal, knowing that Michel Barnier and Juncker are not going to move an inch from what they've agreed? It's never going to get better than what she's got. You know that. We all know that. What do they think they're going to achieve by voting down her deal, voting a no deal off the table, and then what? What do they think is going to be negotiated better than what they've got?
James, I can answer that for you very easily. What the Remainers think is they vote down the deal alongside the ERG. They both vote against, albeit for different reasons, just as I found myself with Lord Adonis at the Oxford Union on Friday. And what they think is that into the space that is created by the extension, that a second referendum will happen. That is what they're aiming at.
But the whole point is, and I agree with you as much as the second referendum, I am convinced, will be a bigger result for the people that want to leave. There's no doubt about it. And the more people that wanted to remain like me are thinking to themselves, first of all, the way that the Michel Barnier and Juncker, their arrogance in the way that they behave. And secondly, ironically, the rise in the far right in Europe upsets me and concerns me, and also any collapse in any of the countries like Italy or Spain, and it will hit us like a rock. And I think we're better off, personally, to take their deal. And, you know, it's better than a no deal, and it's a lot better, I think, than staying now.
So you're sort of a pragmatic Remainer, James, yeah?
I'm a pragmatic Remainer, and the more I think about it, as much as it pains me, I think for somebody that wants to remain, her deal is as good as it's going to get. And that's what I don't understand, Nigel, about
okay, no,
want to leave.
I understand your position clearly. Do you understand, James, why my position as a leaver is that I hate this deal?
Yeah, of course, absolutely you do. But I think that in your heart of hearts, if when you were campaigning, you would have hated a no deal as well. That's not what you espouse.
No, James, you're right. I, for 25 years, said I wanted a free trade agreement, all right? And it's a mystery to me the Prime Minister never asked for one. But I think by rejecting this deal, we then have a chance of moving ahead. And if we go through WTO, we apply for Article 24, I think it's achievable. James, we disagree, but a very interesting phone call. Thank you. And isn't it funny that most people who vote for Mrs May's deal will, of course, have voted Remain in the referendum. So James is kind of in line with them. Paul is a new caller from Hendon. Good morning, Paul.
Hi, good morning, Nigel. How are you?
Welcome. I'm fine. I'm just watching this sort of unfolding democratic tragedy, but there we are.
Okay, let me tell you where I am and what my concern is with yourself and with some of my other friends. I used to be a strong Remainer, and due to listening to your show, I changed into a Leaver, a strong Leaver. Now, I'm in the importing business. We import furniture from Italy and from Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem we have is, why is there, which I hear from lots of my friends all the time, why is there this arrogance, and I'm sorry I'm telling it to you, in yourself and in other strong levers, which we don't find in the Remainers, and I'll explain you what I mean, Nigel.
I'm fascinated by this. I mean, the thought that Tony Blair's not been arrogant through this amazes me, but go on.
Look, I'm sure you're fascinated, but I really find you arrogant, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean to understand the position, because I want to be happy myself with my business. My concern is, do you really think Mrs May gets up in the morning and thinks to herself, I don't want to get a better deal. That's it. I'm going to give up to this Juncker and all the other idiots. I don't want anything better. Do you really think she doesn't try? She doesn't try. Why did this attitude of all the strong levers, yourself, the Rees-Mogg, and all the other idiots, why do you make this feeling that Mrs May doesn't want any better?
I'll tell you why, Paul. Because she gave, shortly after she became leader, a speech at Lancaster House, and I thought, yep, she gets it. She gets it. She's taking us for a clean Brexit. She's a proper convert. And for a few weeks, I believed her. But then, when she went to Florence, and that then set the tone for the entire negotiations, Paul, she was basically saying, we will be leaving in name only because I want to keep a close and special relationship in all sorts of aspects of the European Union.
Don't you want any sort... There's definitely some sort of relationship I'm sure you must also want.
I don't want to be governed by the European Court of Justice. I don't want to pay a huge amount of money to head into a transition period. Hang on, if you ask me a question, I will answer it. And this is the problem. She isn't really taking us out of the European Union, Paul, and that is why we're so angry with her.
So let me ask you a very quick question, Nigel. Let's pretend, I know it's fantasy land, Nigel Farage would be the Prime Minister of England now. What the hell would you do different tomorrow?
Well, we'd be out by now.
What would you have done different 2 months ago? What?
We'd be out.
Look, I know the most admiring moment I had for you was when you stood up in the EU and said none of you have ever done a day's work.
That's right.
Have you ever done a day's work? Because it really does look. If you would have been in any
Yes, Paul, for 20 years I worked in the private sector. I ran my own firm for 9 years. I understand negotiations. And Paul, unlike the Prime Minister, I understand that when you enter a negotiation, the other side needs to know that you're prepared to get up and walk away. And at no point, at no point did they take that seriously. I actually coined, Paul, the phrase, no deal is better than a bad deal, with 2 weeks to go before the referendum. And you know, it's one thing saying it, and she did pick the phrase up, but she never, ever meant it. And that's the problem. Paul, I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to James, who's a new caller from Maidenhead. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Nigel. Firstly, just deal with a few points. Firstly, Theresa May's deal is nonsense.
Nonsense, right?
And I absolutely agree with you that we should have a second referendum. You said so on the Matthew Wright show last year.
No, I said I'm getting myself ready. We may have to accept a second referendum.
You wanted a second referendum.
Right. James, I'm not going to... Listen, if you want to waste my time, that's fine. I don't want a second referendum.
I'm not wasting your time.
But what I've been saying is we mustn't be in denial.
The first referendum was complete, utter nonsense.
Right.
It was complete, utter nonsense because, in fact, one of the greatest prime ministers this country has ever had, Margaret Thatcher, said it is completely inappropriate to hold a referendum on such a complex issue. that to hold a referendum and ask the British public such a complex issue, at least now if we have a second referendum, they can see the complexity of the issue. Boris Johnson didn't really believe in Brexit, and yet that's why he never stood, and that's why we had Theresa May as Prime Minister, and you know that.
No, I think he didn't stand because Michael Gove withdrew support.
He didn't stand because he was scared, because he knew what he didn't. But I'll tell you what, Nigel, I voted for Brexit, but I actually voted because I never thought it would happen like Boris Johnson, and the reason I voted was because I hated David Cameron and Tony Blair and all the slimy PC brigade that were up. I just wanted to give them a bloody nose. Well, it was a stupid thing to do, I agree. But I regret that decision. And that's what a lot of people did. They hated David Cameron. That's why they voted for it. It's ridiculously complex concept.
So James, the answer is no more referendums, yeah?
Yes, unless it's a referendum, for instance, as Margaret Thatcher said, on capital punishment, which would at least be fairly simple. To have a referendum on such
well, I tell you what, to have a referendum,
nonsense.
I couldn't disagree more. To have a referendum,
no, I know you couldn't do.
To have a referendum,
on a radio station
to have a referendum on whether we should be a self-governing nation. I'll be in Parliament.
Hello? Are you still there?
I'll be in Parliament tomorrow, James. To have a referendum.
I wish you would.
To have a referendum.
You're hiding there on LBC. I don't know why they're giving you a safe
I'll be
job.
there tomorrow, James. Gosh, go and pour yourself a glass of something. You sound so upset and so angry. Your life must be ghastly. It's all I can imagine. Now, over the course of the last 24 hours, the Home Secretary, Sajid Javid, has come in for a huge amount of criticism. He's accused of moral cowardice, and this is after we learn that Shamima Begum's son died. Has the Home Secretary done the wrong thing? Is he culpable? 0345 6060 973. Was he in fact trying to keep somebody out of the country who was dangerous? Text to 84850 and tell me, are there ever really answers to moral dilemmas such as this?
On your radio, on your phone, and here.
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 11 o'clock, all 157 people on board an Ethiopian Airlines plane which crashed are believed to have died. The Boeing 737 came down just 6 minutes after taking off from the capital Addis Ababa this morning en route to Nairobi in Kenya. It's understood the passengers included 33 nationalities. Kenya's Transport Secretary James Macharia says many details are yet to be confirmed.
It is a very sensitive, emotional matter. We do not want, and it is not our intention, to provide you with inaccurate information. The primary source of information is authorities in Ethiopia, and more so, Ethiopian Airlines.
The Health Secretary has denied the government is heading for an inevitable second defeat on Theresa May's Brexit deal this week. Matt Hancock has urged Tory MPs to get behind the withdrawal agreement, warning there would be total uncertainty if it's rejected again. The Liberal Democrat leader, Sir Vince Cable, has told Nigel he wants a long-term extension to Article 50.
We would like an extension to have a people's vote, but it would require more than a few months just technical change. It would probably involve a long postponement now, given that the government has dragged its heels for so long.
A teenage boy is continuing to be questioned over a stabbing on a bus in North London. A 19-year-old man was knifed in the chest on board a 134 bus on Colney Hatch Lane in Muswell Hill yesterday afternoon. The suspect, who's 17, was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. The father of a woman who disappeared almost 10 years ago has urged the parents of a missing Hull University student to keep up hope. Peter Lawrence's daughter Claudia was last seen in York in March 2009. Humberside police have been searching for 21-year-old Libby Squire for more than a month. Sir Cliff Richard is supporting a group campaigning for anonymity for people accused of sexual offences until they're charged. The singer was himself accused and his house was raided by police in 2014, but he was never arrested. Sir Mo Farah has won the Vitality Big Half, a 13-mile route through the capital. It's his last big race in preparation for next month's London Marathon. LBC's Ross Powell was watching at the finish line this morning in Greenwich.
1 hour, 1 minute, 14 seconds, and Sir Mo Farah has defended
his Vitality Big Half title. What a race. He was struggling in the early stages, but has now powered through, sprinting down the home straight, and has won the 2019 Vitality Big Half Marathon. What a race in a wet and windy but sunny Greenwich.
LBC weather very windy with wintry showers or rain, particularly across western Scotland and Northern Ireland. Turning much drier and brighter in the south though, and a high of 11 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Simon Conway.
EU exit.
My business plan.
Exports.
The facts.
Leaving the EU on the 29th of March may mean your business needs to prepare for change. Even if you think your business won't be affected, it's worth double-checking. To help you prepare your business, you can find guidance and up-to-date information at gov.uk/EU exit.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show.
Well, the row over Shamima Begum, which has been going on for a couple of weeks, took a turn yesterday when we learnt the news that her 3-week-old son, Gerard, had died. And this is the third baby in a row that she's had and has died in infancy. And that has led to a chorus of condemnation against the Home Secretary, Sajid Javid, because he said we were not having her back in this country, we were taking away her UK citizenship, because in fact she had Bangladeshi parents and she'd grown up in that country. They, it would appear too, were not particularly keen to claim her as one of their nationals either. Anyway, the baby has died, and it's led to huge criticisms. Diane Abbott, Anna Soubry, Ed Davey, indeed the Bishop of St Albans, Lord MacDonald, former Director of Public Prosecutions, he's accusing the Home Secretary of moral cowardice, and there's much else being said about Sajid Javid. And I want to ask you this morning, do you think that he is guilty of moral cowardice? Should he have allowed her to come back with her young baby? And if that's how that's what you think, that actually he got this wrong, the baby and Shamima Begum should have come back to this country, call 0345 6060 973. Or perhaps, like me, you think, no, she left our country to go and fight for her absolute, our sworn enemies. And when she was first interviewed, she was unrepentant in every way at all. And whilst it's tragic that a child has died, actually she posed a threat, a genuine threat to this country if she came back here, and that Javid's done the right thing, in which case, text to 84850. And maybe you think with these moral questions, it's very difficult ever to find any right answers. Should Shamima Begum herself perhaps be blamed and have some responsibility? She's had 3 babies now in a row that have died. Please tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC, and Facebook, as I know you won't be shy to comment. Let's go straight to the callers. The switchboard looks a bit like a Belisha beacon. So let's go to David, a new caller from Bristol. Good morning, David.
Morning, Nigel. How you doing, mate? All right?
Doing all right. So the Home Secretary is being accused of moral cowardice. He should have allowed her to come back to this country and bring her young baby with her.
No. I'm afraid not. It don't work like that, Nigel. The way I see it is, I find it incredible that these people feel like they can come back to the UK and feel safe in our country.
Well, David, we don't quite know, but we think about 400 people who went to fight for ISIS have come back to this country. And I have to say, I find that quite disturbing.
I find that the most disturbing thing is they feel safe to come back to us. Because I can speak from my perspective, the people I know, that I work with and whatnot, and everyone to a man says, if she was placed into our neighbourhood, she'd be attacked on sight and driven out.
So you think if she came back to Britain, she would become a target for people, do you?
Definitely, yeah.
Is that, that doesn't reflect very well upon us, David, does it?
Well, if people are out to kill us, then what are we going to do? We're going to just sit down quietly and let them live with us?
Well, no, David, the argument is, I worry that if she came back to this country, she could pose a national security threat. That does worry me. But equally, David, what would worry me is if we were to move towards mob rule.
Well, you say mob rule, but at the end of the day, Nigel, we got a wife and children to look after, and there's a lot of men in this country like that.
So you would feel, let me ask you, if she moved into your neighbourhood, you would feel threatened by that, yeah?
1,000,000%.
All right, David, I understand the concern about anybody that has fought for ISIS or supports ISIS. Thank you. Well, huge passions there. Look, you know, if we become a country where we were to take it out on people because of what they've done in the past, we would be about as bad as ISIS, really, wouldn't we? So we've got to be slightly careful about some of this. But there are huge passions. And look, you know, 400 ISIS fighters have come back to this country. Only 40 are in custody. I think it's very worrying that there are people out there now walking the streets, maybe even listening in, who've been in a war zone, who've been brutalised in every way. I wouldn't have let one of them back into this country. And I'm sorry, if I'd been Home Secretary, I would not have had Shamima Begum back. And I'm sorry the baby has died, but that's more her choice, I think, than Sajid Javid's. That's my view. John is calling from Hailsham. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Nigel. I think, without a doubt, the Home Secretary has got it right on his first stand, and he doesn't have blood on his hands, because if they'd allowed this woman back with her child, there's dozens more women in the same kind of situation in these refugee camps in Syria. They'd all be on the bandwagon. They all want to come back with 4 or 5 kids each, and then no doubt they'd want to live on the benefits in Britain when they do return. I mean, they made their choices, they went away. There has to be a moral stand on this, surely.
Well, I mean, the argument that the Home Secretary would make, and certainly Andrew Leadsom, Leader of the House, made it on his behalf last night, was that he did what he thought was right because he was protecting the people of this country.
I think you're quite right in that respect. The only problem I have, Nigel, like most people in this country now, I've lost all confidence in our government to get anything right, be it Brexit or be it ISIS people wanting to return to Britain. And they make a positive stand like that. They make a positive stand, and the next thing you know, a few days down the line, they change their mind and they're letting them back in. So I don't have a lot of confidence. I wouldn't mind betting they will start letting this girl or other girls like her back in some short time.
Well, they might do. I mean, there is an argument, John, that actually Sajid Javid's saying things like this because he sees how vulnerable and how weak Theresa May is, and he wants to be the new Tory leader, and he knows this kind of action is popular with the Tory grassroots.
I think, if I can just say one last quick thing, Nigel, what does really worry me, I wouldn't vote for a Tory government, especially after the 29th of March, if we don't get out of Europe on WTO rules. I wouldn't want to vote Tory, but then I wouldn't want to vote Labour. So where the hell does that leave me and millions of other people like me in this country? Who can we vote for?
John, that was the previous discussion in the previous hour, but I take the point, and yeah, you know, if we get delay, then the Conservative government has not delivered Brexit, and that does have potentially catastrophic consequences for them. John, I thank you very much indeed for your call. Peter says, "Oh, Nigel, how I miss the old days when people weren't afraid to call a traitor a traitor." Well, it's quite a long time ago we used to use language like that, Peter, although I've noticed it has come back into our conversation a bit more recently. Scarlett says, "If Shamima Begum was too young to know what she was doing, then it's worrying that the voting age should be lowered." And that is a good point, actually. Yeah, she was 15, didn't know what she was doing. Oh, but 16-year-olds, oh, goodness me, they should vote on everything. Yeah, I mean, it is a very interesting argument. Michael says, no, I'm not going to read that out. I don't buy that at all. "The child was not a British citizen, as it was not born here. There was no outcry about the other 2 dying. This is no different. Tough. But she'll have to get on with her chosen life in Syria." Well, it's arguable, isn't it? I mean, if you're a child born to a British mother, then arguably you are a British citizen. I think legally, under normal circumstances, that would be the situation. But it's different because her British citizenship was taken away. Although some would argue it was taken away after the child was born. So it's not simple. But the Home Secretary made a decision. Did he do it because he believed he was protecting the people of this country? Did he do it because he was lining himself up to be the next Tory leader? That's a point that is worth debating. Peter is on from Wimbledon. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Nigel. Never mind those who didn't know what they're doing, asking for leaving the EU on WTO terms. But I'd like to point out to you that you're wrong here on 3 counts, you and Sajid Javid. The first one, if anyone is a threat to national security or people of this country, you put them in front of courts and you try them and you put them in jail. That's the first point. The second point is, if we didn't know that she had any other passport rather than British passport, so knowing unless we know 100% she was dual national and she held Bangladeshi passport, we cannot make her stateless. So Sajid David, by doing so, he opened himself and us taxpayers to the big court coming against us, and which will cost us millions, to sue the British government for breaking international law, making someone stateless. And obviously he's done that without knowing this. And the third point is, if we are the country who would like to deport foreign criminals into other countries, foreign nationals, we should do the same. So how can we expect Bangladesh to deal with our problems? How can we expect other countries like Syria to deal with British nationals on their soil joining foreign organizations, which terrorist organizations? Why, if we expect those countries to accept criminals from our country, we should do the same.
I mean, the argument here, Peter, is we're going above and beyond normal criminality. Here we have a group of people, and she was one of them, who have willfully left our country, gone to join our enemy, people that we're actually physically fighting and have fought against. Peter, when you go and join the enemy in a wartime situation, you don't really expect to come back home again, do you?
Well, I don't. The thing is, the circumstance, first of all, with her, she joined don't get me wrong, I have no sympathy for that girl at all, and whatever comes her way, she deserved it. But if you want to live in a country, in a civilized Western democracy, we should act like one. And the thing is, we should not be breaking international laws.
Okay.
So do you?
So Peter, do you think that the Home Secretary? Do you think the Home Secretary is guilty of moral cowardice?
Well, that's another point. The other thing is, the baby was born a British national. For that reason, we have a duty of care for that baby, and we should have brought both of them to this country, put her in front of courts, and take care of the baby. We didn't do so. We broke international law. Now it's going to be a big court against us. So it's going to be the lawsuit against the British government, which we as taxpayer will end up paying for this, for the death of the baby, for making her stateless. And the other thing is, again, Nigel, if we are the country, we'd like to expect other countries to do the same for us, which is accept foreign criminals, foreign nationals we're trying to deport, we should do the same. We cannot expect Bangladesh, Syria, or any other country
Peter, I'd be happy. I would have been happy for her to be tried in Syria, and I think there's an argument for that in this case. I think leaving our country to join Islamic State, I think she made a choice, but I do understand your bigger, broader points about international law. It's just that I think this is a different situation. Thank you. Chris in Ottershaw says it would have been moral cowardice to have allowed Miss Begum to return to this country. So there's the other point of view, and this is one that really does divide opinion in a huge, huge way. Fact is, the baby has died, and that the Home Secretary is coming under a chorus of attack. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC.
This is LBC.
Weary wall, peeling ceiling, paint it with B&Q. Dulux 5 litre matte emulsion is just £23. It's ideal for effortless spring makeovers, and 1 hour click and collect makes your job even easier. So for brilliant painting products at everyday low prices, you can do it when you B&Q it. Click and collect, restrictions apply. See DIY.com for details.
If you're a frequent traveller in premium, business and first class, is your travel agent charging you too much? Switching to Bright Sun Travel's 24/7 tailor-made travel services means you could pay less on flights and hotels and enjoy free benefits like early and late checkout, room upgrades and hotel credits. Conditions apply. Visit brightsun.co.uk. Atoll protected.
Isn't it reassuring to know that when you're looking to remortgage, you don't have to rejig your routine? That's why at Barclays we offer evening and weekend appointments. It means you get to talk to us when it works best for you. Morning or evening. We're refreshing and reshaping the way we do mortgages to make them easier. Search Barclays Mortgages. Let's go forward. T's and C's apply.
What could be better than a dog? A dog with an updo, that's what. Poodles in pigtails, miniature schnauzers with mohawks, Great Danes with great manes. With a smart meter, you could save enough energy every year to power a blow dryer for 265 blow dries, which should be just enough time to wangle the Doggy Grooming Lifetime Achievement Award for venerable services to fur. Save your energy for pampering pooches. See how much you're using and make changes to use less. Search Get a Smart Meter today. from the Campaign for a Smarter Britain.
Based on UK Government's projected annual savings of 2% and a blow-dry using 2.47 kilowatt-hours. Eligibility may vary. Available in England, Scotland and Wales by 2020.
Oh, I found one of our new Vauxhall Griffin editions.
Yes. What comes as standard?
Standard? Well, alloy wheels, sat-nav, aircon, DAB radio, Bluetooth, smartphone projection and USB connection.
Wow. Is that everything?
Sorry, forgot the colour touchscreen.
Buy a new Griffin edition, Adam, Astra, Corsa or Mocha X Plus and get a whole host of features as standard. The Griffin edition range. All Griffin, no bull. Visit your nearest retailer now. Vauxhall, British brand since 1903. Participating retailers only. Limited units while stocks last.
If you choose Superfast Fibre from BT, you not only get our most powerful hub, you get to choose another bit of kit worth up to £179. We're talking an Amazon Echo, a Fitbit Charge 3 or a Samsung Tab A10.1. Get Superfast Fibre from $29.99 a month on an 18-month contract with a $29.99 setup fee. Make more of your broadband and have some tech on us. Search BT Broadband and join by 14th of March. BT, be there.
Prices may change. New customers $37.99 for month 19. Terms apply.
The range clearance at Oak Furnitureland is on now, with massive savings on our solid hardwood furniture. But when it's gone, it's gone. At a store near you.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC.
Is the Home Secretary guilty of moral cowardice? That is what we're discussing because baby Jera, at 3 weeks old, Shamima Begum's baby son, has died in that camp. And Ethiopian Airlines have confirmed no survivors on the flight with 157 people on board. It crashed minutes after takeoff outside Nairobi. We will get more on that story if we get any fresh news. But another horrible accident. And before I get back to this debate, just a quick comment on Robert Woody Johnson. He's the US ambassador here in the UA, in the UK, and he's saying, don't let the EU's chicken scare stories stop Britain and America striking a magnificent trade deal. He makes the point that lots of scare stories about chlorinated chicken, but as he says, we already eat chlorinated salads. I wonder how many of you knew that actually that does get used to make sure we don't catch all sorts of infections when we buy at the local supermarket our salad in a plastic wrapper. But that is going to be a huge issue because if Brexit is delayed, I don't think this US administration are going to be very happy about it because they see great potential between us. So, did the Home Secretary do the right thing or the wrong thing? A lot of people think he's done the wrong thing. I actually think, by not letting her back into the country, that he did the right thing. And I'm sorry that her third child in a row has died. I genuinely am. Mark is calling from Birmingham. Good morning.
Yeah, hello, Nigel.
Morning.
Excellent show.
Thank you. So, Mark...
From my side,
yeah,
absolutely, she should be allowed back in the UK.
Should she?
Face the justice if required. Now, if we have cases where you have women out there, as an example I'm giving, that go and visit murderers. Doesn't make them a murderer, does it? And where's this affiliation? She joined somewhere. She was a 15-year-old, for God's sake.
Well, she's not
now. She went out. She isn't now, but she was then. And you've got daughters, Nigel, and you know what their mentalities are like. They go out for a bit of adventure, want to see the world call it the world.
No, Mark. Yeah. Mark. I'm sorry, but, I'm all for young people being adventurous. I'm all for young people travelling. I've got one at the moment that's travelling in an exotic part of the world, and that's fantastic. But she went and joined.
Yeah,
a murderous. She joined a murderous organisation.
Hold on 2 minutes. If she joined an organisation, firstly, you disown her, and secondly, it's a failing on the British system. She was a 15-year-old going out into territory where it's controlled by ISIS, and it's a massive failing by the intelligence, the immigration, the airport systems.
Well, she went... She didn't go straight there, Mark.
Let's make it clear. She was 15 years old, her and her group, and she should have been put on the radar.
Mark, they did try and stop them going. They did it through...
No, it's nonsense.
They did it through Europe. But Mark, Mark, right, let's look at today. Let's look at today.
Okay.
All right? She's now 19, okay?
Fine.
And when she was interviewed, she made it clear she was an unrepentant jihadist. She talked casually about seeing severed heads in bins. She was, as I say, wholly unrepentant when it came to... just hear me through. When it comes to ISIS and its aims. And actually, isn't the point about issuing forgiveness that you have to have repentance first? And I didn't see any of it. I saw somebody who would come back to our country and actually potentially be quite dangerous.
Nigel, I tell you what, if I was to believe everything that the media throws in my face, you sound a perfectly reasonable, intelligent chap, but if I take everything which the media throws or skews in my direction, I tell you what, as far as I'm concerned, you're a dictator, you're a monster.
I get the point. I get the point. But I get the point. But this is what she said. I mean, she said these things face to camera.
Okay, so let her face the justice. I mean, obviously, from a positive point of view, she will provide a lot of intelligence, which could sort of be very favourable to the intelligence service. And if we treat every national... I mean, there's a lot of your callers that are coming through now. If her name was... the IRA committed a lot of atrocities. And guess which was the biggest sponsor of the IRA? It was the USA. So we have the Irish community.
It wasn't the USA government, Mark. It wasn't the USA government.
Yes, but there was a group. So why weren't they banned and the rest of it? So let's talk about history, yeah?
Well, I think you'll find the British government did try and stop funds coming in to the IRA from North America.
But they couldn't stop it. But in reality,
it's very difficult.
And if the Americans were very interested in stopping the funding to the IRA, they would have done it. But they didn't do it because it's all political. And, what's considered a terrorist now isn't considered a terrorist in 10 years.
Well, I tell you what, ISIS for all time will be considered evil. There we are. That's not a word. It's not a word I often use, but it's a Sunday morning and evil.
The IRA are now, they are a political organisation. You look at Cambodia, the Khmer Rouge, which, killed millions. They were brought into the fold, and it happens.
Mark,
I'm talking about.
I don't forgive anybody that committed those IRA atrocities because once again, none of them have repented. Even the guy that planted the bomb in Brighton shows no repentance.
Absolutely, but they need to face the legal justice, not the justice where somebody says, "Guess what? Where did Shamima Begum grow up?" That's what I would like to know.
Well, Bangladesh to begin with.
She grew up in the UK.
I tell you what, Mark. I tell you what, Mark. I'm going to try and find a point of agreement between us, right? I agree with your point. She may well have intelligence that could be useful to us, all right? So why don't we interview her and try her, but do it in Syria using an international panel? Wouldn't that be the best way of dealing with this?
Is she a British national?
Because the Home Secretary's removed it.
Yeah, but now she's made stateless, and I tell you what...
Well, she's got Islamic State.
This does not bode a good example for, being the beacon of democracy and the rest of it.
Mark, you've made the point. You've made the point, Mark, very passionately, very well. I'm going to move on. Mark there feels very strongly. He thinks it's a matter of right and wrong. What does Carl, a new caller from Southport, think? Good morning, Carl.
Yes, good morning, Nigel. It's the first time I've spoken to you, but I have been on before. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
My point is not specifically to this young lady, who I do have quite a deal of sympathy for. However, ISIS is a totalitarian regime that have been committing atrocious crimes, as well as fighting both a cyber war and a physical war in Syria, and have been fighting against British troops and British assets, and attacking civilians by recruiting people abroad to carry out acts of terror on their behalf. And if all these jihadis are coming back to the country without, you say only 40 are in custody.
That's what I believe. Yeah.
If we look back in history to the last war, Nigel, there was a chap called William Joyce, or Lord Hawthorne.
Yeah, we shot him, didn't we, in the Tower of London?
Absolutely. He was a traitor.
Different
and all
times.
that he did is something similar to what you're doing. He broadcast a radio show.
Yep.
Putting across a certain point of view, but that point of view was a Nazi regime, another totalitarian regime that committed acts of terror and acts of genocide. Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? It's a warning from history. There was also a chap, John Amory, who recruited or tried to recruit POWs to form an SS unit to fight on behalf of the Germans, and we hanged him. Now, hanging is no longer on the statute books, and I'm not an advocate for bringing it back. However, I think that she has got off very, very lightly. And I have a lot of sympathy because she went as a minor. But as you say, she's 19.
Yep.
And my big problem is that, in order to be, in order for your sins to be forgiven, they first of all have to be
must
repented.
repent. Absolutely. Mark, absolutely.
And she was completely unrepentant.
Yeah, no, Mark, and I saw that interview and I thought, why would you want someone coming back into this country who clearly is an enemy of everything we stand for and a supporter of somebody that we are effectively at war with? Nope. Mark, Carl, I get that point totally. Thank you. Patricia says, Javid has banned another 2 women today. That's right, he has. We don't want her or any others here. What is it you don't understand? And she's referring to Mark, the earlier caller. Well, the other side of this argument, folks, is there is something called international law, and if you're a citizen of a country, you should be able to come back and face the music here. I just think this is different because they've gone off to join somebody we're at war with. What does Emily, a new caller from Gloucester, make of this? Good morning, Emily.
Morning, Nigel. I just found it absolutely ridiculous. I got home on Friday. I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
I got home, and the first thing I do is look at the news to find that we're still talking about this woman. I don't understand why we're still talking about her. She's clearly a terrorist. She's clearly evil. She laughed in the face of journalists and said she agreed with the Manchester bombing. She said that it's commonplace that people were beheaded, laughed at that. That's okay. Absolutely agree with the Home Secretary. She should not be coming here. Don't want her here. Don't want anybody else like that. She's a threat. And actually, we do need now as a country, because we look absolutely ridiculous in Europe, all this toing and froing, we need to be leaving Europe. Everybody that's paying taxes are just absolutely fed up. I've taken what's actually like a pay freeze in my teaching job. I've been a teacher for 15 years. I don't want to hear about people like her. I want to know that I've got a home, that I can provide for my daughter, who I know that my daughter would never do anything like that. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, you're right.
That we're still talking about
it's been an endless conversation, and it probably suits some parts of the media for it to be so. Emily, thank you. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's 11:30 and time for the news with Simon Conway.
It's feared there are no survivors after an Ethiopian Airlines plane crashed just minutes after taking off this morning. 149 passengers and 8 crew were on board the Boeing 737, which was heading from Addis Ababa to Nairobi in Kenya. The Foreign Secretary is warning Tory MPs they risk killing off Brexit altogether if they don't back Theresa May's deal in Tuesday's Commons vote. Jeremy Hunt says there's now wind in the sails of those who oppose leaving the EU. The Home Office is refusing to comment on reports 2 more women who joined IS in Syria have had their British citizenship revoked. The Sunday Times has quoted legal sources naming sisters Rima and Zara Iqbal, who left East London in 2013. LBC weather, very windy with wintry showers or rain, particularly across western Scotland and Northern Ireland, turning drier and much brighter in the south, a high of 11 degrees.
This is LBC.
I'm making a pledge in my will to cancer research to save more lives in the future.
People who leave money in wills, without that money, we wouldn't be able to do the research that we do. It's as simple as that.
There is every reason for us to be optimistic about the future when it comes to cancer research, because the field is moving so fast, and from where we were maybe 10 years ago, there are so many treatments available.
Join the supporters and researchers pledging to beat cancer with Cancer Research UK. Find out how you can make a pledge to leave a gift in your will at cruk.org/pledge. Together, we will beat cancer.
How refreshing is it to know that when you're thinking about remortgaging, you can find out if you could borrow what you need straight away without affecting your credit score? That's why at Barclays, we'll let you know with an online agreement in principle from the comfort of your own home. We're refreshing and reshaping the way we do mortgages to make them easier. Search Barclays Mortgages. Let's go forward. T's and C's apply.
Why should you stick with Sky if they stick up your broadband price mid-contract? The answer's easy. You shouldn't. That's why at TalkTalk we're bringing you Britain's lowest fixed-price fibre. Switch today and get our award-winning fibre for just $19.95 a month for 18 months, with no mid-contract price rises. Plus, we'll give you our powerful Wi-Fi hub with our strongest signal yet. These are just some of the reasons we're the Uswitch most popular broadband provider for 2019. So hurry, switch today for just $19.95 a month for 18 months with no setup fee. Offer ends 14th of March. Search TalkTalk Fibre. TalkTalk for everyone. T's and C's apply.
Oh, I found one of our new Vauxhall Griffin editions.
Yes. What comes as standard?
Standard? Well, alloy wheels, sat-nav, aircon, DAB radio, Bluetooth, smartphone projection and USB connection.
Wow. Is that everything?
Sorry, forgot the colour touchscreen.
Buy a new Griffin Edition, Adam, Astra, Corsa or Mocha X Plus and get a whole host of features as standard. The Griffin Edition range. All Griffin, no bull. Visit your nearest retailer now. Vauxhall, British brand since 1903. Participating retailers only. Limited units while stocks last.
I want Poppy to play cricket for England.
I want Sam to stop screaming.
I want Joe to live a little.
I want Naomi to live a lot.
I want Becky to invent a cure for the common cold.
Whatever the future holds for your children, Vitality Life Insurance want to make it happy, healthy and secure. So when you take out our Wellness Optimizer, you'll get up to 40% off your life insurance premiums.
I want the twins to keep on being happy.
I just want whatever the twins are on.
Just search Vitality Life Insurance. Additional product, minimum monthly premiums and conditions apply.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC.
Well, the Home Secretary is accused of moral cowardice because he did not allow Shamima Begum to come back into this country, and we learned yesterday that her 3-week-old baby boy has died, the third child in a row that she's had to die in infancy. And before we get back to that, we're talking about the past, we're talking about should she be tried in this country if she came home, should she be tried in Syria, and we're going to find out this week what will happen after the latest probe into the events of Bloody Sunday in the early 1970s in Northern Ireland. And we're going to find out whether some British soldiers are going to be prosecuted for what happened nearly 50 years ago, despite the fact we now know that Martin McGuinness fired the first shot on that day. And I have to say, I think the way in which we are hounding former British soldiers for simply doing their job in very difficult circumstances is pretty disgraceful, but we'll see. So, is the Home Secretary guilty of moral cowardice? Susie is a first-time caller from Cornwall. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Nigel.
So, did Javid get this right, or does he now look to be pretty culpable in the death of this young child?
Well, I think I don't really want to comment on about his moral compass. My personal view is he got it right. But my concern is nobody is actually looking at this woman, and that is what she is now, and looking at her moral compass. I, as a mother, if I had been in her position, knowing that I was not going to be allowed back into this country, I would have appealed to the British government to take my child. She has a loving family, has expressed extreme concern about her safety. They want her back. They want the child back. Why not give your child up to your family? And, we're questioning everybody else, but actually, as a mother, I not allow my children to face death in a camp.
Quite
when
difficult,
she has another option.
Susie. I'm, and you give me a female perspective, please, and a mother's perspective on this, but quite difficult to give a child over to safety when they're very, very newly born, isn't it? Or not?
Well, no, not really. If you have, it is difficult. But if you had a choice between life and death, you've got children, Nigel.
Yeah.
If your child was going to die, and the choice was you were going to give it to your family,
yeah,
I know what I would choose.
Yeah.
And she chose to keep that child in that camp.
No, I think you're right. Susie,
children already die.
Susie, I think you raise a very good point. It's almost as if she's not guilty of anything, is she? She's not guilty of going off to join ISIS because she was only 15. She's not responsible for the death of this child. That's all the fault of the Home Secretary. And there's no blame put on her at all. In fact, she's actually, Susie, from much of the media, being made out to be the victim of all of this, isn't she?
She isn't. You can argue that when she was 15, okay, fine, maybe, possibly, but she's not 15. My point is about the baby. The baby was the innocent party, but there was a choice, and she made that choice to keep the baby in that dreadful camp, and she knew, because she'd already lost 2 children, that in all likelihood that baby would die.
Yeah. Susie, you make a very, very powerful, emotive point on this Sunday morning. I thank you. Hi, Nigel. Thank you for giving a voice to the silent majority. Ari, Shamima. People saying at 15 she didn't know what she was doing. Why then were the 2 10-year-olds that murdered James Bulger? Why were they told that they did know what they were doing? Well, Teresa, actually, the age of criminal responsibility in this country is 10 years old. You know, that is the age at which you do understand whether you're doing right or wrong, and that's how the law looks at it. But it has been quite... The number of people that want to come to her defence again and again and again is, I think, pretty extraordinary. Emily was spot on. It's time we put our foot down. Pity Mrs May couldn't, says Leslie. Why should we bring her back to the country when she clearly still supports ISIS? If she was forgiving and sorry and admitted that ISIS were wrong, well, yeah, do you know what, Nish? Nish and Harrow, I'm absolutely with you. I thought, you know, if we see some repentance, then we could make the argument, look, let's have her back in the country. But to hear that she's still a full-on ISIS supporter, why do we want her back here? I don't. Tom is a first-time caller, another one from Petersfield in Hampshire. Hi, Tom.
Hello.
So, moral cowardice, that is what the Home Secretary is accused of.
Yeah, I think realistically that question, you have to assume that he's not a coward because he's done what he thinks is best for the country. She left, job done. The baby is desperately sad, that outcome, but the responsibility has to sit on the mother. However, what I'm not overly happy with is the precedent that she left when she was 15. And I think as a British citizen, we have a duty of care to her. I know she's now an adult, etc., but she left when she was a child. And I think with that in mind, we've got a duty of care. And similar to a caller previously, I think we've got to accept our criminals back if we insist that other countries accept their criminals back. We've left her stateless.
Well, Tom, I'm trying to draw a slight distinction between criminals in the sense of burglars or people that commit, you know, GBH or ABH, whatever it is, and people who go and join an enemy that we're fighting in war. I do think there's a difference there.
Absolutely, and don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want her back in the country. If you're going to ban anyone, that's the people that you want to ban. But equally, she left when she was 15, and therefore I think she should be trialled in this country. She is a wrong in that I wouldn't want her living near me or living anyone near that I know. But I think we have a duty of care, and I think she falls within the category that we're obliged.
You're the second caller, Tom, that said that. You're the second caller that said you wouldn't want her living anywhere near you.
But then we let criminals, once they've did their or done their time, we let criminals out that I wouldn't want living near me. There's people that murderers get let out after a certain amount of time, manslaughter, very nasty people. She's no different to that. I wouldn't want those people next to me, but we have a duty of care to our citizens, and she left when she was a child.
Well, can I propose, Tom, that what would be far better would be if she and other people, men who've gone and fought for ISIS, were tried in Syria, not brought back here to be tried?
Yes, but then we're assuming that it's the Syrian government's responsibility because she joined ISIS.
No, I don't think the Syrian government could do this. I agree with that point, and we may not trust the Syrian judicial system either. I think that there would need to be an international panel of some kind. Tom, thank you for your call. Chris from Colston says, the same liberal left lobby who think Miss Begum cannot be held responsible for joining Daesh ISIS age 15 are the ones arguing 16-year-olds should be given the vote. Yep, that point keeps being made again and again and again. Jerry says every baby is innocent. The Home Secretary wants to be PM. Well, he does actually, strike these tough poses every now and again. Whether he carries through, we'll see. Sounds like he is, if there are 2 more ISIS brides today that have been banned from coming back to this country. And Sheila says Sajid was right not to let her back into the United Kingdom. She knew what she was doing. Ron is another first-time caller from Broxbourne in Hearts. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning, Nigel.
Good morning. So, Sajid Javid, has he got this right or horribly wrong?
100% right. She should not have been allowed back into the country, or anybody of that frame of mind. If she'd come back to this country, she would have been a danger to us.
Okay.
And, if her child had lived, he would have been brought up back in this country with the same frame of mind, I feel.
Well, he might have made his own mind up and chosen a different course, Ron.
Yeah, but she was brainwashed into that way of thinking. She could have quite easily brainwashed her son. And if his father is wherever he is...
Well, he's Dutch, of course, the father, isn't he?
He would have followed that. I feel he would have followed that train.
You may be right, Ron, you may not. We can't prejudge that. But I mean, it's obviously very sad that the baby's died. I mean, a previous caller thought she should have given the baby up for safety.
That's what I think. She was offered that, or
Yes.
a reporter mentioned that, and
Yes.
she said no. Now, if she cared for that baby, now the Home Secretary should not be getting the blame for that baby's death. That's a terrible thing to do. In my opinion, he's doing what's right for this country, and it's a pity that most of these politicians that are doing Brexit at the moment didn't think of what we're doing for the country instead of their own pocket.
No, that's probably right. Ron, thank you. Thank you. Kathy says, I know what she has done is unforgivable, but whatever she did, no matter how bad it was, to lose a child is the worst punishment, and now she has lost 3. Yes, in the interview she came across as unrepentant, but she could be of low intellect and easily led. I've seen these types of people being taken advantage of before. She needs rehabilitation. Well, Kathy, I can't comment on her relative intelligence or otherwise. I mean, I was quite struck that when I listened to her speaking and when I watched her being interviewed, she seemed of perfectly normal intelligence to me. I just don't know. I don't know. If she just could have said, I made a terrible mistake, I went and joined this horrible, murderous cult, I'm pleased to be away from them, I think we all would have had a different frame of mind. But when she starts to justify the bombing in Manchester at the Ariana Grande concert, well, I'm sorry, but any thoughts, really, of any sympathy just begin to disappear. Russell says we have enough terror suspects in the UK already. 3,000 in London, according to Boris Johnson when he was mayor. Do we need these people who've been part of ISIS back in the UK? They need us, but only a few months ago they were killing and plotting terror. Russell, I don't want any of them back. I think it's horrifying that there are 400 men who fought for ISIS and been brutalised freely walking our streets. We must be mad. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. It's 11:45.
Coming up at 12 on LBC, David Lammy.
41 people have been killed in stabbings in the UK this year. I want to know who and what is to blame for this. And are Theresa May's police cuts at the heart of the problem?
David Lammy on LBC.
Ian does the same things every day. He gets out of bed. He walks to the station. He shouts at the swans in the park. Swans! But today is different. Ian just won one of Paddy Power Games' daily jackpots. I've won! With an average jackpot of £10,000 to be won by 11 p.m. daily, you have a chance to win every day too. Hey, swans! Jackpots will vary from day to day. Must be awarded by 11 p.m. Available on selected games. T's and C's at paddypower.com. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Lebanese culture is about sharing, generosity and hospitality, family get-togethers and catching up with friends. And food isn't any different. Experience endless varieties and magical tastes at Marouche, where we bring people together with our healthy, delicious food and warm hospitality. Authentic Lebanese cuisine made the traditional way. Marouche, your family restaurant. Book now at marouche.com.
When you're done for the day, you can't just lock up your data in a safe. Which is why BT is now offering 50% off when you combine Broadband Essential with added backup and device protection. Because it's just as important to be protected as it is to be connected. Find out more at bt.com/businessprotect. BT. Be there. BT terms apply. Up to 50% saving is the maximum discount available on the BT Business Broadband Essential Package. Delivery charges are applicable. See bt.com/businessprotect for full T's and C's.
The range clearance at Oak Furnitureland is on now, with massive savings on our solid hardwood furniture. But when it's gone at a store near you.
Think you're tough? Nah, I ain't talking about you, sunshine. I'm talking about your email password. You need to get yourself a strong, separate email password. Something unique, like 3 random words you're not using anywhere else. Because if your email gets hacked, you're in big trouble. Hackers can use it to nick your identity. Then you'll be at the creek without a paddle, and no one wants to see that. Be cyber aware. Learn more at cyberaware.gov.uk.
Highways England is here to improve your journey. Have you noticed the emergency refuge areas along the motorway? You might have wondered what they're for. Not this.
I need the toilet.
Or this.
Are you tired? Do you want me to drive?
Or even this. Emergency refuge areas are on motorways for emergencies only. For more information on emergency refuge areas, search online for smart motorways.
Do you need an alternative to your bank to secure finance? Well, Finance for Business are the brokers who can help you access it, allowing you to expand your property portfolio, to buy properties in need of refurbishment or development, or downsize and buy the dream home before your old house sells. Broking is the new banking, and Finance for Business are the brokers you can rely on. Search Finance for Business for details. Your home may be at risk and repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on a mortgage or any other loan secured on it.
Stylish and effortlessly cool, this model is a real head-turner. With 16-inch alloys and a wireless keycard, a new Renault Clio from Renault Retail Group is this season's must-have accessory. And at just £159 a month and £159 deposit on 0% APR finance, the price tag is pretty eye-catching too. Find your nearest dealer at renaultretail.co.uk. Deposit 159, then 48 monthly payments of 159. Final payment 4511.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC.
Well, we learned that Shamima Begum's young 3-week-old son, Gerard, has died. We learnt that yesterday, and moral cowardice is what the Home Secretary is being accused of. Well, he's not being put back by that because he's now taken away citizenship from 2 other girls who went to Syria and married jihadi fighters. Is he guilty of moral cowardice, or was he just trying to protect the country? And that's rather the view that I take. And I know there are cynics that say he wants to be a Tory party leader, but I don't care. If he does the right thing, he does the right thing. That is my view. I'm sorry the baby's died, but that is my view. Carol is a first-time caller from Leeds. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning.
Morning. So, did the Home Secretary do the right thing, Carol?
He absolutely did. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, he did. And my concern really is that this was a 15-year-old girl when she left.
Yes.
But 15-year-old girls and 15-year-old boys are very different things.
You can't say that in modern Britain.
My husband, it's true, my husband is 67 and he is a child. He is, it's true. And he would tell you himself he's a boy.
Right.
And I was married at 16. Now, people are asking for the vote because of Brexit at 16. You can get married at 16, which I did. Now, 15 to 16 is not very far for a girl. It's a long way for a boy.
So are you saying, Carol, to me that girls are much more grown up in their decision-making at age 15 and 16 and maybe even 67 than boys are?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Maybe not 67, but...
I mean, this is a very...
But at that young age, it isn't. Now, people can hardly ask for the vote at 16, which is a massive responsibility to use your vote at 18.
So this is sexism, Carol. This is sexism against men that I'm hearing from you here, isn't it? I mean,
it absolutely is, yeah.
I'm just supposed to... Yeah. And that's okay, is it? So basically...
well, it is okay, and I'm not a liberal woman, but I have 2 girls and 1 boy.
Right.
And my 2 girls were very capable at 15. My boy still wanted me to go and clean his bedroom, and never wanted to do the dishes. And he wanted to play on his PlayStation. He was a child at 15. Girls aren't children at 15.
All right, so you think what she did was a responsible decision that she took when she was 15.
I do, yeah.
All right.
I do, yeah.
All right,
And,
okay.
and she had plenty of time getting there to change your mind.
And 16, Carol, when you got married at 16, you were ready
Yeah.
for that, yeah?
I was, yeah, and I had 2 children by the time I were 18.
Okay. Fine, Carol,
Yeah.
you make the point. I mean, at some point, men are going to have to start standing up for themselves, it seems to me, but hey.
They're going to have to, but they're certainly not going to do because, like I say, my husband at 67 is still not capable.
All right, Carol, thanks for the call. I tell you what, I wouldn't be him. Crikey, that must be a nightmare, mustn't it? Right. Nigel, she was a traitor. This word keeps coming back in all these debates these days. Never used to hear it, really. She was a traitor to this country. She should not be allowed back in, ever. But if she is allowed back, maximum security prison until she dies. Dan in Cornwall. Dan, you know that if she came back and was tried, she might serve a very, very short time in prison and then be out on our streets, because that is how we do things in this country. Marla Morgan says to me, she was not going and stupid to marry at the age of 15. I'm very sorry the baby died. How many other children are suffering because of this? He was right to ban her from the UK. Well, yes, as you quite rightly say, Marla, the idea that this is the only baby that has died out in this camp or in this war zone, of course, death on a huge scale has been occurring. Lots of very strong passion here, including some pretty anti-male sentiments from my last caller. Kat is another first-time caller from Swanley in Kent. Good morning, Kat.
Good morning, Nigel.
So a poor 15-year-old girl goes out to join ISIS and become a bride, and it's not really her fault, Kat.
It is her fault. I was speaking to my daughter about this, and she's 17 now. She said, "Mum, when I was 15, I knew right from wrong."
Yes.
She said, "I knew right from wrong, and what she'd done was wrong, and she should never be allowed back into the country." But yes, we're all sorry for the baby that died, but she is going to be like, as she's radicalised anyway, she's going to carry on being radicalised, and she's going to be like a martyr if she comes back.
Well, she's already, Kat, being treated, it seems to me, by large sections of the broadcast media as being the victim in all of this.
Oh, victim. As my daughter says, she's not a victim. She knew what she was doing. She wanted to go out there, and do whatever she wanted to do. And now she wants to come back and get all her benefits, get a house and whatever. And it's not right. I'm sorry, it's not right.
And what if that contravenes international law, Kat?
Well, the law should be changed.
All right, OK, Kat, thank you. I wasn't going to change her mind or even try to. Let's go to Adriano, a first-time caller from Madeira. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, or good afternoon where you are. OK, so...
No, it's morning, actually, here. We got the same time.
Oh, of course, you're Portuguese time, aren't you? Yeah. OK, because I know, America changed their clocks last night. I'm struggling to get round it all at the moment. So tell me, a lot of our callers here, texters and tweeters, just think she's an unrepentant jihadist and should not be allowed back. How do you feel about that?
Well, first of all, I would like to excuse myself for wading in this British debate, given that I'm not a British citizen. I don't even live in Britain.
Right.
It's just because I follow LBC. I mean, and I've been following this debate for the past years, and then today I just decided to give a call. So,
well, thank you.
I just find it a bit weird that, from my point of view, I think she's a British citizen, or she should be anyway, a British citizen, despite of her crime. She was born and bred in Britain. And then if she done a crime, whatever she done, she should be arrested, tried, and jailed if that's the case. And if that's not the case, if the British justice system decides that she hasn't committed any crime, she should be free to go. I mean, there should be, I think, what would be logical if you guys trust in your justice system. She was born and bred in Britain, just like you, Nigel. And
I mean, Adriana, there is a slight difference here. We're not just talking about straight criminality. We're talking about her, but equally, we're talking about 400 men as well. Maybe a couple of dozen brides, but certainly 400 men. And we're talking about people that have gone and joined an organisation that we're at war with. So it is a slightly different situation, isn't it?
Yeah. So if there is a crime, they should be tried and jailed. So, I mean, if it's a crime, the justice system should take care of them. They should, but this is, in the day, she's a British subject. And she should not be like a poor country's problem right now. I mean, she is a British citizen, or she should be anyway, from my point of view.
Right, so to you it's unarguable. Right now, so Sajid Javid was wrong, you think, to take away her citizenship?
I think it was actually illegal because he renders her stateless. And that's the bottom line right now. She's stateless.
Well. She's not stateless. She's got Islamic State, hasn't she?
Well, that's not a state. We all know. I'm not defending this girl's action or whatever. I mean, definitely not.
No. You're making a point.
That obviously, this girl, she should be allowed back because she was born and bred in Britain. And once upon arrival, she should be arrested and investigated, questioned, tried and jailed if that is the case.
Adriano, thank you for your call. I'm sure the weather's lovely in Madeira. Thank you. I've got time for one last caller very quickly. Nick, who's a new caller from Wrexham. Good morning, Nick.
Morning, Nigel.
So, did you do the right thing or not?
No, he didn't. I think what you've got to do with this, you've got to try and separate the moral and the moral issues and the sort of the emotional. I think you've got to look at it from a legality point of view. And what will happen now is obviously because we have left her stateless. I know you said that she's got Islamic State, but, that's not going to be on her passport, is it?
I know. I'm being slightly flippant about that. I know.
Yeah, I understand that.
I know. Nick, you've got 30 seconds because time is running out. Tell me, should she now be allowed to come back into this country?
Yes, and the reason being because what will happen is if she challenges it in international court, it'll cost the country money, and then she'll get the decision she wants anyway. And this is literally just Sajid Javid just wanting to make a play for the Tory leadership.
OK, Nick, thank you. And I'm going to give one more comment on that side to finish up on. Anonymously, I get, are all these callers who are happy to judge her for being groomed at 15, do they feel the same way about the Rochdale girls, all right? So there's a pretty emotive end to that debate. Well, massive week coming up in British politics. I'm going to be in Strasbourg for the next 2 or 3 nights, awaiting Monsieur Barnier's response to Mrs May's loss of the vote on Tuesday. You've been listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. Back tomorrow at 6. At 3 this afternoon, it's Ian Payne. And next on LBC, in for Majid Nawaz, it's David Lammy.
This is Labour MP David Lammy standing in for Majid Nawaz. Over the next 3 hours, we'll discuss Sajid Javid's response to Shamima Begum's case. He's been accused of moral cowardice after her 3-week-old baby died yesterday.